Greetings, everyone. Spring is in the air. Love is in the air. Pollen is in the air. And if I start a commotion, I run the risk. Today we're going to be talking about the mortal instruments and also the infernal devices. So, I meant to make these into two, but life has been kind of busy, so we're making it into one. I have finished The City of Glass, and per Cassandra Clare's behest, I stopped reading the Mortal Instruments and am going to read the Infernal Devices in between the first trilogy of the Mortal Instruments and the second, to see how that pans out. So let's look at The City of Glass first. I definitely think that The City of Glass was the strongest of the first three books. I don't know if that's just because the plot culminated in it and everything kind of laid out neatly. I liked the ending, one arc finished and we can pursue the next arc with these characters. I do think it's interesting. I know that I've heard interviews with Cassandra Clare where she talks about how she had intended the Mortal Instruments to be a trilogy and then expanded it. So it kind of makes sense how the structure goes. I'm worried that that means that the fourth book in the series is going to be weaker because of it. I'm worried that the rebound into the same characters but a different plot, or the same plot but somehow it's extended, might come off as shaky, but who knows, maybe it won't. I got two more books to read before I have to get there anyway. I liked it. I liked the way that the Alliance rune was used. I thought that that was really cute. I also thought that it was fucking funny that Jace came riding on a horse. Jace is a really funny character to me because one, he kind of reminds me of my brother, but that's a me thing. But he's so, I get it. I get him, but he's also just fucking funny because it's dude, just face your feelings for a second. On one hand, he's willing to accept these things about himself, but it's also with the biggest veneer of self-loathing you ever did see. And I think that makes him relatable and funny, but I'm also interested in what that will mean in the future when he doesn't have incest bearing down on his shoulders. I hope that means that he can character grow into probably a giant goober, but I don't know. I also think that somehow book Clary grew on me. I don't particularly like the strong female lead character in this era of literature. Katniss Everdeen doesn't hit it for me. So I wasn't surprised when Clary certainly wasn't my favorite, and she's not my favorite even still. But I do think that, I was rooting for her. Some of the choices that were made, I was glad happened. I was glad that when she saw her mom again, she held fast to asking her questions and being upset that her mom had kind of taken this autonomy from her. I think it was nice that she was hey, Luke was there for me, all these people were there for me, and you made it, by your actions, you made it seem like people from this world that you were trying to hide me from weren't going to be receptive to me, and that's not true. I'm glad that she stuck up for the Lightwoods. I think that their friendship is good. I still think that it's kind of fucked up that Clary and Izzy have different opinions and that makes them not friends. I think that they could easily be friends, but whatever. Aside from that though, I think it's nice that they kind of stick up for each other, and I hope that continues emotionally, because I do think my critique of the first three books is that they're very Clary and Jace focused, which I get because that's the plot, but I hope that in the future it's expanded to include more characters in that circle. I think that it's a waste of such fun characters to be you guys are auxiliary and you guys will always kind of be auxiliary. I even feel that way. I love Simon, but it's like, why can't like the Lightwoods get on that level where like we get more of them, you know, because this needs to happen. Moving on to the Infernal devices. I read Clockwork Angel. I have heard around the bush that you kind of like either like one or the other. So either you're like more of a fan of the Mortal Instruments or you're more of a fan of the Infernal devices. I do like both for their own reasons. I think that I would actually truly recommend from my heart, Clockwork Angel more than the Mortal Instruments. Like, I don't think that I would ever like go up to someone and be like, you have to read the Mortal Instruments. Like, as I said before, like, it's a soap opera and I liked it, but the Infernal devices was like interesting. Like, it actually engaged me and I was like, oh shit, like, oh, I might actually like this. I think that the question of Tessa's heritage is cool. I like that we're actually getting more into other species of the downworld rather than just the Nephilim. I think that the characters are really interesting. Like, once again, I think that Cassie Clare is really good at making really interesting characters. I want to root for these side characters. I care about Charlotte and Henry. I care about Will. I care about Jem. Like, I even like Jessamine. I was like, I'm here for you, Jessamine. I'm like, you know, I don't get you as a person, but I get where you're coming from and I want you to be happy. You know, like, you're a bitch, but like, I see where you can grow. At this point, I'm just debating just powering through all of Cassandra Clare's bibliography at this point. You know, it began as like, what is all this hullabaloo about? And now I'm here. I love that Cassandra Clare has a winning plot outline and then she just kind of followed it for both books. So in both The City of Bones and Clockwork Angel, it's like, young woman is missing a family member. Young woman ends up at an institute. Young woman has a magical conundrum. Enter Magnus Bane. Like, that is the first half of both books. And it's just like they were talking about how they didn't understand what was going on with Tessa Gray. Like, they needed to get in contact with someone to figure it out. And I was like, it's going to be Magnus Bane. I know it's going to be Magnus Bane. I know that in this world, all roads lead to Magnus Bane. And I was fucking right. Tessa's powers are crazy interesting. But I also like the psychological damage that they're talking about with these kind of powers. Because I don't even know what this bitch is. I don't even know. Like, I at this point, I think like all my doors are open on that spectrum. Because I have no goddamn clue. Like, you know, it's kind of like with Star Wars, the prequel series, where they were like, you know, the first time you tricked me with incest, you did that. And now I don't believe that anybody is not related to anybody else. You know, it's like the same thing. Like, the first time, Cassie, you tricked me with incest, and now I don't fucking believe anything you say first go around. So, like, they're like, she has to be a warlock. And I'm like, I don't know what else she could be. I have no solutions for you, but I'm questioning it all regarding the love triangle, because it is a true love triangle this time. I know that some people were like, oh, well, like the Jace Alec Clary thing. What are you talking about? I don't know. I didn't feel that. I didn't feel like that was particularly triangular. This one's interesting because I don't know. I don't know how it's going to play out. But I really do wonder. And I don't know. I don't want to hold out hope, because I think this is just something that makes sense in my queer-ass brain and might not translate into Cassie Clare's brain. But I think that at this point, the best outcome would just be a polyamorous relationship. I think that the way that they interact as a trio is so wonderful. Like, they all bring something, and I'm talking about Will, Jem, and Tessa. They all bring something special to the table, emotionally, socially, mentally, whatever, that I think would translate really well as just them being all together. Because especially, I think this is especially apparent in Jem, and maybe that's maybe because he is like a quieter character, also probably because Clockwork Angel leaned way more toward Will/Tessa than Will/Jem. I feel like Jem has a deep, deep love for Will. And I know the parabatai thing, but like even outside of that, I think that it's really apparent that like he really loves him. I think that Will's the kind of character who wouldn't be as upfront about that. So I'm kind of leaning toward Jem as like a marker more of what's actually happening in the relationship, because he seems to be more open about whatever is going on. I do think probably because this is a book written in the freaking early 2000s, that it's probably going to end up having to be one or the other. And I'm assuming that in Clockwork Prince and Clockwork Princess that it is going to become more Jem heavy, because right now it seems like Natch will. So I guess we'll find out. Overall though, I definitely like the Infernal Devices better. I think the ambiance is also really exciting. I do think, once again, don't read these because you think they're going to be historical novels, because not that like the historicism is bad, just that it's certainly not the goal of the books. While there may have been, historical research done, things are loosey-goosey, specifically because of the book she's trying to write, and that's not a book that's considered historical fiction. So just, yeah. But I look forward to reading more. I think I'm going to take a little break. I'll probably read some this week, but I think I'll take a little break because I've already read 4 of her fucking books.